Alright, so here we are on Betaflight on the page. And what I just texted you was about these guys here. This is your RC Expo, your rate, and then your RC rate. This is usually set to 1.0. It might be 80, and I added a little bit of Expo. But I usually knock these down 84s, and then these all the way down to 75, sometimes a little bit more. What that's going to do is when you're using your thumbs, you might be able to go left and right all the way with no problem, like pretty speedy, and find your center pretty speedy. But you might have an issue going down and up for pitch, you know? Like you can only do that, but you can do all of this with your other, right? So that's why these kind of numbers don't always match right here. Because I can go on my roll, it's snappier, but on my pitch, I can't really do all that movement. I know that doesn't look right, but so with that, you can adjust. The 75% makes that stick, if it makes the stick actually 125% bigger. Like the stick actually thinks it's all the way the fuck over here, all the way the fuck over there. That's what 75% means. It doesn't look that way, but that's what it means. And then you dumb it down by adding the expos, so it'll be even smoother than that. Does that make any sense? If this was 125, right, 1.25, if I just touched it a little bit, this thing would go crazy. So that would be, you're working the other way on your sticks if you go above one. So I'm making the sticks wider when I go past one. The next one, the rate is this part up here. Like once I hit the edge of my thing, that's where it's gonna go. Woohoo! And then my expo is this curve right here. It's all part of the bell curve. Green is pitch, blue is yaw, or red is roll. And you'll see that goes accordingly when you start playing with these numbers. Originally, that fucker is straight from corner to corner. And that was 1 to 1 to 1. Yeah. So, anyway, you basically want to be able to, whatever this number is, whatever this match is for you and your hands and the way you hold it, is right here in this little picture. You hook up your controller and you set up these numbers and you take your thumb and you slap aside. You go clack, clack, clack. And you want this thing to be either flip 180, like upside down when you go clack, or if you hold it and let go, a little longer clack, it should be a 180 all the way, a 360 all the way back to zero, like this, or as close to zero as that could be. Now everybody's different, and that's the thing, everybody's different. So if you got shaky hands, or if your hand doesn't go like that, do these numbers and see if this thing is going to be short or past the 180 mark. If it is, then you can adjust these numbers so you can get that son of a bitch to bang out 180s every time you go clack. Now the expo is this bell curve. That's your clack mark. But this bell curve is how quick you can get it back to zero. So I shake like a motherfucker. So I got a big old bell, big old smooth spot where I can chill. And then once I get around here, right where I get it back, this is almost like a dead zone. And I'll have like full on control. When I say dead zone, I mean that's where your thumb is in your goggles, and then you come across, and then you can do a loop in the other way. So in the middle it's cool, and then it's clack. Or in the middle it's cool, and then it's clack. Alright, now you see why I'm using my thumb. Now over here, your TPA breakpoint, don't worry about that. Your throttle limit's off 100%. Throttle mid. I'm doing this off my Titan. So on a 6S battery, it lifts at about 30%. It starts coming off the ground. It starts doing like a hard hover at about 30%. I said take your goggles off in the text, and that means take your goggles off, look at your quad on the ground, start the motors, get them spinning, and then raise the quad just as soon as it wants to come off the ground. Look at your controller, and you'll see you're just barely like a third of the way up. So that's going to be your hover point. Anything lower than that, you're going to drop to the ground. Anything above it, you're going to go in the sky. And then your 20% expo on that is so, I'm doing this with the wrong hand, but when I'm throttling up, all right, I'll do it with my other hand. Hang on. Here's my throttle hand. So when I'm throttling up, you see how my thumb kind of like does like a round arc over the middle? Well, that'll affect your yaw. And I'm thinking it's about, I don't want to say a 9% fucking roundness, but that's kind of like where you're at. Like mentally, you got to keep your thumb to go the other way toward, you know, when you're holding the controller. And when I'm doing my yaw, going like this, it's really hard for me to keep that at a level plane going across like that. So with that little shakiness that my thumb does, that will get fixed with your yaw fucking hoo-ha, your yaw expo. And again, you want this thing, when you clack it, to come 180, or clack it to get 180 so you're facing backwards, and clack it again so you're going 180 so you're facing forward, or hold it to see if you can get it to do a 360 in one movement. That's a 360 and back to zero. And then this in here is that expo. Right on? So that's why those lines are like that. But technically, that's how my hand is set up. Yours will look the same, but your numbers may be different to get that thing to do 180s in your clack. All right? Let me know when you get that set up, and then I'll give you a call. Enjoy the video, bud.